How can we correct our mistakes in our pronunciation? How can we correct our mistakes in our pronunciation? We can correct our mistakes in our pronunciation by listening and speaking as much as possible. Yes, if you have a problem with a colleague at work, should you speak to your boss about it? If you have a problem with a colleague at work, should you speak to your boss about it? Yes, if I have a problem with a colleague at work, colleague is not colleague, colleague at work, should you speak? I should speak to my boss about it. Yes. Can smoking cause health problems? Can smoking cause health problems? Yes. Smoking can cause health problems. Okay, in history, have many people died for the causes of freedom and justice? In history, have many people died for the causes of freedom and justice? Yes, in history, many people have died for the causes of freedom and justice. Yes. As we have now studied about 1,000 words and a lot of the grammar, can you hold a simple conversation in English? As we have now studied about 1,000 words and a lot of the grammar, can you hold a simple conversation in English? Yes?
Yes.
As we have now studied about 1,000 words and a lot of the grammar, I can hold a simple conversation in English. Yes. As you are not tall enough to reach the ceiling, what would you have to do if you wanted to reach it? As you are not tall enough to reach the ceiling, what would you have to do if you wanted to reach it? As I am not tall enough to reach the ceiling, I would have to put a chair on the table and stand on the chair if I wanted to reach it. Yes. Give me a sentence with that is please in it. So give me a sentence with that is in it. Everybody loves that film. That is everybody I've spoken to. We will go to the cinema this evening. That is if we have enough money. Yes. Have you ever broken any of the bones in your body? Have you ever broken any of the bones in your body?
No.
No, I've never broken any of the bones in my body. Okay? What's the plural of life? What's the plural of life? The plural of life is lives. Do you think the lives of the poor are happier than those of the rich? Do you think the lives of the poor are happier than those of the rich? No, I don't think that the lives of the poor are happier than those of the rich. I think they're less happy. Okay, make a sentence with the word although in it. Make a sentence with the word although in it. Although the food was not very nice, I ate it because I was hungry. Yes. Although you're now able to hold a simple conversation in English, do you think you should keep studying? Although you're now able to hold a simple conversation in English, do you think you should keep studying? Yes. Although I'm now able to hold a simple conversation in English, I think I should keep studying. Yes. Are some people always happy, although they have problems in their lives? Are some people always happy, although they have problems in their lives? Yes, some people are always happy, although they have problems in their lives. Yes. Is there a restaurant near here that cooks tasty food? Is there a restaurant near here that cooks Tasty food. Yes.
Yes.
There's a restaurant.
There is restaurant.
Restaurant near here
Near here.
that cooks
That cooks.
tasty food.
If I were.
If I were
If I were.
king,
King.
person.
Person.
Okay. Person, when I say person, I can say first person, like I, first person. Second person, you. Third person, he, she, it. Third person in the singular. Plural, first person plural, we. Yeah? Second person plural, you. And third person plural, they. King, a person with a crown, like we have the Queen Elizabeth and the King Charles. Yeah? Okay. If I were for conditional, okay, we talk about the second conditional if simple past would, okay? If I were, we use it if I were or if I was, okay? Generally, if I were is used more. Let's read about that. In the second conditional, we can use the verb to be in the past simple and say if I was. Please repeat, if I was.
If I was.
If you were.
If you were.
If he was.
If he was.
Etc. Or we can use were for all the persons and say if I were. Okay, we can use that also. So please repeat, if I were.
If I were.
If you were.
If you were.
If you were.
If you were.
Etc. Yeah, the second form is perhaps more common. The second form, like if I say if I were, is more common. If he were, it's more common, okay? What are the two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be? What are the two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be? The two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be are if I was and if I were. Yes, if you were a millionaire, where would you live? If you were a millionaire, where would you live? If I were a millionaire, I would live in a castle. Yes? Why? Why would you live in a castle? Why? Because I have money. It's cool. Yes, it is cool. I have money. If I were you, which language would I speak? If I were you, which language would I speak? If you were me,
If you or me.
You were me.
You or me.
I would speak.
I
or
would
you
speak.
would speak. You would speak.
You would speak.
Portuguese. Yes. If you were a king, what would your wife be called? If you were a king, what would your wife be called? If I were a king, my wife would be called a queen. Okay, if there wasn't a light in this room, would we be able to see well when it got dark? If there wasn't a light in this room, would we be able to see well when it got dark? No. If there wasn't a light in this room, we wouldn't be able to see well when it got dark. We would see badly. Yes. If there weren't any food in the world, would we all die? If there weren't any food in the world, would we all die? Yes. If there weren't any food in the world, we would all die. Okay? If you weren't you, who would you like to be? If you weren't you, who would you like to be? If I weren't me, I would like to be Angelina Jolie. Okay. Why? Because she's famous, she's beautiful. Yeah, she's okay. Please repeat, if I were you.
If I were you.
Advice.
Expression.
Especially. If I were you.
If I were you.
Advice.
Expression.
Especially. Okay. we're talking about if I were you when we give an advice, okay? If I were you, I would speak Portuguese, right? You know, and if you have a problem now, if you have a problem, for example, you have difficulties in English, I say, oh, if I were you, I would practice more. If I were you, I wouldn't get absent, okay? I wouldn't get absent, I would practice more. And so this is an advice. What's an advice? It's a suggestion. You give suggestion. Expression like what a beautiful day, what a beautiful day, okay? This is an expression. Expression we usually use as a set of words together, and they form a special meaning, okay? Expression. Especially means something in particular, especially, okay? We say, if I were you, when we want to give advice to somebody, especially when we think perhaps there is a problem. For example, if I were you, I would go to see a doctor, or I wouldn't open that door if I were you. Please repeat, if I were you, I would go to see a doctor.
I would go to see a doctor.
This here probably the person is sick, right? And I'm giving advice. If I were you, I would see a doctor. I would go to see a doctor. I wouldn't open that door if I were you. Okay, there's a problem outside outside. Don't open the door. I wouldn't open the door if I were you. Okay? There's a monster, perhaps. So.